Thank you, Karen. Real quickly, you mentioned Shark Tank. Here's my armband. I was number 14 in June of last year. I applied. If you name a competition, I've probably entered it or tried to enter it. And I can fill you the pros and cons and tell you the lessons learned. After I give this, I'm happy to answer any questions. I've learned so much in those 4 years since I presented last, and there's just a lot to share. Company is Nasoni. There's a reason behind that I can explain after the 6 minutes. And it is the world's first fountain faucet, right? This is reimagining the bathroom faucet, literally. And we've won 1 million cups, also won the Best of the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show in Orlando last year. That's the largest show in North America for bathroom products. So who am I? I spent 25 years at Newport News Shipbuilding, going from the waterfront apprentice school all the way through engineering. I was a nuclear refueling engineer. I did a ton of different things there. The last 11 years, we're working for my wife's company, Reed Integration. We started that with nothing and grew it to a $5 million government consulting business. And then with investment coming last year, I actually quit her job, or working for her, and started full-time with Nasoni October 1st.
You didn't quit working for your wife.
Well, we have a great relationship. It works very well. So these are some of the awards her company has achieved in those years that we were together, working with Reed Integration. So, successful products, how do we define them? Well, they're the ones that find those unarticulated needs and desires. I know a lot of you have a product you're thinking about bringing to market. That's why you're here, right? So, there was even stupid ideas can make money. And I call it stupid, but how many of you saw the seat gap filler? I mean, look at it. They grew that to a $24 million business, right? That's amazing. So your solution should be built in a way that creates a different niche and not just necessarily improves on an existing one. And I think that's what we're doing here with Nasoni. If you look at this, how many of you see yourself in this scenario with your faucet? Ever done any of this? And ever bought any of these aftermarket solutions at the bottom? Bless you. I have tried these things, these attachments that go on the bottom to try to turn it into a water fountain. And they end up getting black mold. They don't fit well. And really, to me, it tells me that the product itself wasn't designed to do what we need. If you were to design a product today, you'd start with a functional analysis. What functions do I need to perform with it? And then you'd look at, okay, how does it need to respond to those? If you did it on a faucet, it wouldn't just come down, but the faucet was designed 1700 BC in Greece, right? That's a long time ago. And it hadn't changed. It's always going down. So we're the first ones to come out with the world's first fountain faucet. What can you do with it? Well, sitting in this presentation 4 years ago, I designed it because I got tired of sticking my head under the faucet after I brushed, right? And that was my first thought of how it solves a problem. But in this meeting, there was a lady sitting right here, and she said, you know what I want to use it for? I said, okay, what's that? She said, I needed to rinse makeup off before bedtime. Because when I do that right now, I cup my hands and I splash and water gets all over the countertop. Well, guess what? I've installed these in my house. We have 2 in the master bath, my wife and I, his and hers. Every night before bed, I watch her, and she dips her face in the little stream and rinses off the makeup remover. Doesn't get all over the countertop. It works perfectly for that. I've also learned you can use it. I've come in from mowing the grass on Saturday, gotten a little dust in my eye. It's a perfect eye wash. How many of you have a home eye wash station? You don't. Guess what? You would now. There's just uses all the time. And I've also learned about a health and wellness related area. Ed Sadler is a prominent builder in Harbor View. His wife is Kim. I ran into her at the parking lot at Harris Teeter. And she goes, I was thinking about you last week. And I said, why is that? She said, I had vertigo. And the more I bend over to get water from the faucet, the more dizzy I get. This would have been great, she said. Somebody else said her husband had a bad back, a disc go bad. And he used to always tilt his head, but now he has to use a cup. Cups get dirty because of the aerosol effect and other things. You don't always wash them enough. He didn't want Dixie cups that you throw away. So he hated it. She goes, he would love this solution. I hear things like that all the time, different use cases. I'll share with you also that I've raised over $80,000 in cash and prizes in startup competitions. So, I have literally bootstrapped this to the point where I could achieve a seed round of investment. If you don't have the money, look for those competitions. Even the 757 competition. I won the first one for that. And not only that, that led to some help from Temp O with ODU investing in consulting support, which was thousands of dollars of help. So I highly recommend if you're looking for help, go enter the 757 competition. The other thing it does It helps you validate your product. You get questions and ideas and feedback. So always do those things. There's a lot of them out there and a lot of money going around. I'm going to give a prop to Chris Lane. You guys have a great videographer here. And this is what Chris did, if I can get it to play. We have sound, right?
Isn't it time the faucet was reinvented?
So he's going to rinse after he brushes. Going to rinse shaving cream. That's another use I didn't mention. The next young lady rinses the makeup remover. Kids love it.
The perfect combination of exceptional beauty and flawless functionality.
That's Ed Sadler. He's taking a pill.
Nasoni Fontanina. Be thrilled by your faucet.
Anyway, Chris did that, so big hand of applause to Chris. That is pretty much my presentation. I've got a lot of slides after this to answer questions. Like if you want to understand how I got from where I was to where I am now, that's what this slide is about. If we have, I don't know how much time we have left, but
30 seconds.
I'll do quick. Okay, so when I started, I did a proof of concept. I bought a faucet at Lowe's, took it home, I drilled a hole in the top, and I put a shutoff valve, hooked it up to a garden hose, and I said, okay, this works, right? So now I got to do something with it. Following that, I did some engineering work to engineer the solution. Then I liked the idea so much, I decided to patent it. Couldn't afford the local attorney, so guess what I did? Oh, well, let me back up. I couldn't find an engineer to do the work. Because if I ask my shipyard friends, they can't do it at work, right? So I used Upwork. Upwork.com. Shall I keep?
What were you about to say?
I love it. I love it. Great job. So actually it was called Elance at the time, and they're now called Upwork. So they were bought and merged. And I hired a freelancer who was overseas, but from the US, that could do all the CAD modeling I needed, right? So we came out with the design, we finished the design, and then I went to patent it. Again, I couldn't afford the local attorneys. So guess what? I went to India. I found a patent attorney in India that works with the US Patent Office. And we filed both a design patent and a utility patent. The design patent was approved in a year. Was it any good later? No, because my design changed. But guess what? It allowed me when I entered these competitions to say I was patented. They didn't know what difference in a design and utility, right? But it was hugely beneficial for me in these competitions. So following that, I entered Get Started Hampton Roads. I entered Start Peninsula first. And out of the top 50, I didn't make the top 10. And I asked found out one of the judges had said, I would never be able to compete with the big three, Moen, Delta Kohler, all the big faucet manufacturers. I don't have the distribution and all this other stuff. And I thought, you know what? What if somebody told Cookout, Five Guys, and Shake Shack, guys, give it up. Don't even start, because you got Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, right? Somebody tells me I can't do it. That makes me work that much harder to prove them wrong. All right, so Get Started Hampton Roads was one that was in Virginia Beach. That was put on by Cox and Inc. magazine. And it was $10,000 in cash and prizes for the judge's favorite and a $250 American Express gift card for the audience favorite. I won both. So that was cool. So now my wife says, guess what? You need to start a company. You need to start a company so we can deposit the money and not have it work against our taxes, right? So I did. Now the cool thing about that, let's see if it's down here. I just signed up with the Better Business Bureau. I had to sign. And because I've been in a business since 2015, I got an A+ rating already. And I'm not even selling anything. But you know what? I want that trust factor from the people that are going to try to buy from us. So having an A+ rating is awesome. And to be able to jump out the gate selling your product on that. So that has paid off. The next thing I had to do, we continued with the cab model, and then I applied for Tech.co. That was held in Hampton at the Air and Space Museum. And I won the Reader's Choice Award for that, which sent us to Las Vegas. And I got to go out and compete out there. Great time. My wife and I were married out there. So it was a lot of fun. That money, though, allowed me to build my prototype, that $10,000 in cash and prizes. It allowed me to build the first prototype. And I I bought a book called The Mom Inventor's Handbook. I read every book I could find. Tamara Monosoff is the author, and she had recommended a guy, Justin Iao, out of Maine. And so he got my first prototype built for me. It was about $7,000. $5,000 I got from the prize, cash prize, $2,000 out of pocket. That then allowed me to keep going with the logo, the website, keep pushing me forward. I then applied for My Cool Inventions, and we won that. So what I'm trying to tell you is all of these things along the way helped build up to where I'm at today that was able to get the seed round of investment that came through in December. There was a show called Thunderdome. Steve Harvey was the host. Anybody ever heard of it? It was only out for one season, and it didn't get funded for the second season. But I applied, I was accepted. They paid for my trip to California. It was in West Hollywood, and we were in CBS television studios. They were shooting Dancing with the Stars right across from me. Tom Bergeron walked by my dressing room. I said, Tom? He goes, yes. He shook my hand. We did a selfie together just to prove I was out there. And anyway, I competed on stage. I won't take you through all the details, but I'll leave it to say that I won $50,000. I won the competition. Now, they weren't going to pay me till a year later, right? So what did I do? I went and got a credit card from BB&T for $50,000. And I spent that $50,000 that whole year developing our own faucet design. So this is our faucet. This is the center set version. And this is what we call the widespread version. So this is 8-inch widespread, this 4-inch center set. It's all solid brass. This design is patented to me, both utility and design patents. And I'll pass it around. Now, the first thing you're gonna notice is it's heavy. It weighs 6 pounds. It's made of solid brass. So it's literally one of the best faucets you can buy. I use my shipyard engineering background to say, what are the 3 main things that are important about a faucet? First thing is what it's made of. And lead-free brass or stainless steel are the 2 best thick materials you can use. Lead-free brass is easier to work with, so that's why we use that. Second thing is, it's gotta look good, so you gotta have a good finish. Physical vapor deposition, or PVD, is the best finish you can get. I pay about 10 bucks extra per faucet, but it's PVD coated. It's also a green process. Third thing is gotta have good valves. You don't want it to leak, so we're using ceramic disc valves. So that's literally the best, it's on par with the best faucet you can buy, but it's more functional than anything out there. And I took that $50,000, that's what I developed. We developed the prototypes, the engineering work. So I have new patents that have been applied for. And one of the design goals was to get away from unique components. I had my own ball valve in the initial design. Now that is all commercial off-the-shelf components. So it reduces our risk of failing testing. I have test samples being sent next week from my factory to IAPMO in California, and they'll be certified both with the Uniform Plumbing Code, the Canadian Plumbing Code, and green. So it'll take about 8 weeks, and then we're finalizing production, and I will be launching a Kickstarter project because I'm doing a twofold thing. Number one, we got B2C sales. These faucets are going to be B2C. They have a 1.2 gallon per minute downspout. In a hotel, it's generally 0.5. So the ones I'm ordering first are for consumer based. And so what we're going to do is Kickstarter launch for that. And then I've hired a bunch of manufacturer reps. We're bringing on a number of them. There's a guy named Craig Johnson who owns Virginia Marketing Associates out of Suffolk. And he's a manufacturer rep for Chicago Faucets and Simmons and Insinkerator and other things. And so he has the territory of Virginia and Maryland. He heard about my faucet when ODU hosted the Secretary of Commerce last fall in October. What was his name? Secretary of Commerce. Well, you have a guy there, an inventor, who invented coffee out of peanut hulls, right? That guy and I talked, we met each other, talked at that event, and he happened to be renting warehouse space from this Craig Johnson and told him about me. So Craig then called me, and that's how we got in touch. If I hadn't participated in the event, we'd have never met. This wouldn't have happened. Connections are very important. You got to get out there and connect. That's one of the things this tells you. So after that, he told Craig about what we're doing. Craig is a big part of my team now. In fact, he's on my board. We have a board of directors. My investor is on the board, and Craig and myself. We have a board of 3. When we go for our next round of investment, we'll grow it to 5. Last thing I'm going to say, and we'll open up more questions. I applied for Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch in March of last year. Anybody heard of that? It's on YouTube. You can look it up. And unfortunately, I am the title of that season, the whole season. And I broke the cardinal rule of pitching, they said. So the show is all about, you go out and you get on an elevator and you got 60 seconds to pitch. And as you ride the elevator to the top, that's 60 seconds. You're being filmed and you give your pitch. And there are 4 judges at the top. If they like what you say, they let you in. If they don't, thumbs down and you're sent back down. And you got to fly out on your own nickel. I spent almost $2,000 flying to California. And I'm thinking, how am I going to present this to make it unique and interesting? So what I did, I flew out there a day or two early. I went to Walmart and I bought a 3-stack rack on wheels. I put 3 of these on the rack, covered it up with a big black tablecloth. Then I had the faucet in a bag like this in my hand. And I gave my pitch and I said, we reinvented the bathroom faucet. It's awesome, it's patented. We won the best of the kitchen and bath industry show. And if you recall the curved shower curtain rod, that was invented in '03. And once that was put out there, it just took off and dominated. I said, similar to that, we think we're going to be similar, on a similar trajectory. And I said, and with your help, we're ready for production. With your help, we'll get there. Well, they heard the pitch, and I couldn't hear anything they were doing, right? Because you're on the elevator. So I didn't know anything until a month later what happened, because I got sent back down. And I'm thinking, wow, it didn't work. Why did this happen? And a month later when it aired, one of the judges turns to the other, oh, that's mean. I want to know what he's got. I want to know what it is, you know. And so the idea of trying to draw their interest to open the door and let me in worked, except they said, he didn't ask what he wanted and we didn't see his product. So we say thumbs down. So they sent me back down. So the doors opened up though, and I got to go out and see them, and I uncovered it. I said, this is what you missed. I said, we'll be out there. We won almost every startup competition we've ever entered, and we're going to go places. And so I'm thinking to myself, why did this happen? What's the reason behind me spending all that money going out there? Well, God may have a different plan for you, because I can tell you what happened. My wife, in her small business, worked with the Small Business Administration in Richmond, and 5 or 6 years ago, there was a representative up there named Marcy Posey. Some of you may know her. Marcy was assigned as Reed's small business rep for 1 year, and I met Marcy. We kind of hit it off and had some good talks. Well, I hadn't talked to her in 5 years. She happened to see that YouTube episode, and I didn't think anybody really watched it much because nobody knew about it. She saw the episode, and she calls a guy named Ben that she actually rode the bus with growing up, that her mother was a school bus driver for. And she goes, Ben, you got to meet Steve Waddell and see his product. Turns out Ben owns a company called Indy Do Good, and my investor partner, they invested in his company, and he's on their board. So Ben calls me, and we have this phone call and like a phone interview. And he goes, well, I need to introduce you to my investor. So we had another call, and the investor partner said, look, we like what we're hearing, but if we're going to go any further, you need to come to Minnesota. So in August, my wife and I flew to Minnesota, Mall of America. What a cool place that is. And we stayed at the JW Marriott so I could show them the faucet. And we gave our pitch, and it took me until December to get all the legal paperwork done, but we landed the seed investment. And that's a really cool thing. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone on the show and gave it a try, and Marcy see the show, and the failure. So you may have failures along the way, but don't give up, and keep pushing forward. So I'll open to questions now. I guess it never did come back up, did it? Yeah, there it is. Hey. So to jump through it real quickly, there you can see the 757 pitch, the Best of Kitchen and Bath show. We did a production pilot, got the design. Oh, I do have a Chinese design patent, by the way. I have a Chinese trademark, so we got protection over there as well. But to show you, we closed the seed round in December. So there's the check from the competition in Virginia Beach. That's my first proof of concept. This is the Thunderdome outside my dressing room. So this is the outside the door for me to go in. This is the 7x7 pitch, and then there's the Best of K-Biz. And there's a company called Product Quick Start that did the design work with me for the product. And Noah is the principal for it. And I loved his comment. He goes, I want about a half a dozen of them. In my 20 years of doing new product design, this is one of the coolest things he's worked on. And then one more to share with you. In my production pilot, we gave one of these to one of my wife's employees who's been helping me some with video and stuff like that. And he put him in his guest bathroom. And he's from Northern Virginia. And he has people come down and stay with him. He doesn't tell them about the faucet. And so one morning, a couple came down, and Saturday morning they get up, and John's wife nudges him and said, look what so-and-so posted on Snapchat. This is what she said. I said, I'll take that hug. So just to show you, this is my design team. This is my board of directors. There's my board of directors. This is my investor here, Ron, and his wife, Sue. And across the bottom, this is my team that we're working on this. And this is Genomex, which is my factory partner in China. This is my project manager in China and my quality manager. So they're overseeing the factory for me. Last thing I'll show you here, this is feedback at KBIS. People walked up and were seeing the faucets. So this is kind of proof here. You guys, what do you think, guys?
It's so cool.
I think this is the coolest booth in the whole entire convention.
Thank you so much.
It's so cool.
Awesome.
And you want to get one, huh?
I will have.
It's going in the house.
have
It's going in the house.
That's
New house
awesome.
and the keys. It's going in.
In the Keys, how tough is that, huh?
Going in there.
I would love to be in the Keys.
Actually, one of these is going in the guest
let the
bedroom, the
grandkids
guest
play with it.
bathroom, and probably two of them in our bathroom. We have two double sinks.
Right, you got to have his and hers,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's true. And you know what? You put your thumb out here, I could probably get her.
Wait a minute.
So y'all the comedians as well.
Steve, love your product, love the design, and love that you're a veteran. Thank you for
Awesome, thank you so much, guys. Y'all enjoy the show. So they want 3 of them. One last thing. This video was
Silky
done in
smooth
Pakistan.
operation and drip-free performance are achieved by Nasoni ceramic disc valves. Our faucets are crafted from premium-grade lead-free brass, providing a level of durability that will stand the test of time. Ultra-exclusive PVD coatings prevent tarnish and corrosion.
I'm not going to bore you with the entire video, but I want to tell you that that was done in Pakistan. I have people all over the world from these tools like Upwork and Fiverr. Anybody heard of Fiverr? Fiverr.com. I use those tools all the time because I don't have a team of people working under me because I can't afford them, right? So it's all like 1099s. I hire them all over and they do great work. And the fact is they're on a different schedule than I am, so I can come in the next day and they'll have a deliverable to me overnight. So there's a lot of value in that. Questions? Yes, sir.
So you obviously got the engineering right.
Mm-hmm.
It just strikes me that you got the marketing really right, which is just as important, if not more important. Would you agree with that?
It's funny you mention that. If I can show you this. Okay,
Silky smooth operation
let me stop that.
and drip-free performance are achieved by Nasoni ceramic disc valves.
What I want you to see is the logo. So if you mentioned marketing. That's an important thing. So this was a logo I developed myself, right? I thought it was cool. I liked it. And my investor partner said, I think we need to update your logo. And I said, okay. So they came up with that, and I wasn't sure about it. So what we did is they've got the marketing lady they have worked at Best Buy named Jillian for 25 years. And so her team had come up with that. Well, because I wasn't sure of it, we hired a company called IMI Research out of Canada. They have 600 people they brought in through a survey. We had 4 different logo options, and 150 went to each of these different groups with the 4 different logos. The survey results came back overwhelming that people thought this was more like a bank logo. They didn't know what it represented. And they knew that was water. Why? Because a little drop above it. So it represents the fountain effect. So my marketing has evolved along the way, but we're doing many different things. But you're right, marketing is hugely important.
Well, in particular, your personality lends itself over that too.
Well, I like to have fun.
Right? Other people like, ugh. Good question. I was a nuclear engineer, so where'd you get this idea for the ceramic disc valves?
Studying what it takes to build great faucets. So, when I look through, there's different websites you can research. But again, the main components that I learned were those 3. And I actually was a nuclear fueling engineer for Enterprise.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we have some common background.
I call those myself. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Somebody else, Steve?
Let's see, when do you think you'll be able to hit market with this, and at what price point do you think you're going to be able to?
Great questions.
Talk about the retail price.
Yeah, sure. So great questions. You will not find this faucet at Lowe's and Home Depot because what you don't see there, if you were to take the faucet apart, which I've done this, there's plastic inside. They're cheap faucets. They wear out quick. So this is more like a Ferguson, Mosaic Tile, places like that, especially retail. So the price point will be $379 for the center set and $399 for this. But your house could burn down, this faucet would still be there. And that's the retail price. Now, I will tell you, we're going in test phase next week. It's an 8-week cycle, and then following that, production's about 60 days, but they're already started. So our Kickstarter campaign will probably launch near the end of June, and we will offer the biggest discount that'll ever be offered through that, just to we can get a groundswell of people starting to use it, right? So 40% off will be the initial price, the super early bird, they call it, for like the first 3 days of the campaign. So that's in the $250 range or whatever. If you're interested, go to nasoni.com, put your email address in. Everybody that pre-signs up will notify before we launch, and you'll get the chance to get the super early bird discount. It'll go from 40%, then 30%, and then 10%. There's a marketing strategy with Kickstarter on all of that. I'm learning all that too. Have you ever heard of lookalike audiences? If you do Facebook ads, we're gonna have to do those, right? And you're gonna target. You can pull up, like let's say Nebbia. Anybody heard of the Nebbia shower? They did over $3 million on Kickstarter in their first round. We can do a lookalike audience for Nebbia, things like that. So there's a ton of things to learn, but you find the experts in those fields. That's what I've done. Other questions? There is just a ton that I could share. This is my first prototype. If you want to see it. Proof of concept.
Faucet fountain concept. So the first turn this thing on.
I didn't even know if it was going to work, right?
Go ahead and streak the flow. That concept works.
That was my day off on January 1st,
I like that.
2014.
Just got to be able to stop the flow entirely from the top. So that'll have to be engineered.
Now, the reason my stepfather is there, I showed it to him. He was in piping department in the shipyard, a superintendent for all my life just about, and he did a lot of home construction. He bet me $1,000 I'd never sell one. He goes, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, when you brush your teeth, you either got to tilt your head, cup your hand, or use a cup, right? He goes, no. I said, well, what do you do? He goes, oh, I just take my teeth out and throw them in a cup. I said, oh, come on, man. I didn't even think of that one. I've also learned some people brush their teeth in the shower, which I'd never heard of. But I will tell you, there's something called the aerosol effect. Anybody ever heard of the aerosol effect?
Yes.
If you flush a toilet, what happens? Bioaerosols get ejected that can travel up to 15 feet and land on all the surface in the bathroom. That glass that sits next to your sink that you don't wash enough, it's capturing perhaps E. coli, staphylococcus, other things like that, and you could be ingesting those and not even know it. In fact, Dr. Anna Jang, you may not know her, but she's the head of environmental research at ODU. I am hiring her to do a study to prove that it's cleaner to drink from a water fountain than the glass that sits next to the sink exposed to the aerosol effect. I want to have scientific research to prove that out because I think it'll help our marketing. Why? Because I think hotels could eliminate those cups in the bathroom. And there'd be a green savings by doing that, right? If you could provide a water fountain in the bathroom. So lots of different angles to look at this stuff. You go to Panda Express and get a fortune cookie. That was mine a couple years ago. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I like it. So water savings. Normal faucets put 2.2 gallons a minute. WaterSense went down to 1.5, so there's a water savings, right? Well, California's had a drought, and so they've come out with what they call CEC compliant, California Energy Commission, 1.2 gallons a minute. We are CEC compliant. But like Ron Popeil, there's more, right? When you use the water fountain feature and you turn this on, it shuts off that flow and it only puts out 0.5 gallons a minute. So some people leave the water running when they brush their teeth. How many people do that? Anybody in here? Steve does, a few heads going, yeah. So you're using 1.5 gallons a minute if you're a WaterSense faucet, right? If you turn this fountain on, now you're using only 0.5. So you're saving a gallon per minute. If you brush for 2 minutes, like the normal recommendation, that's 2 gallons every time you brush. Brush twice a day, 4 gallons a day. 365 days a year, that's over 1,000 gallons. Family of 4, that's over 5,000 gallons a year you could save just by having this little feature. Cool stuff. Yes, sir.
So having lived up in Connecticut where the water pressure varied from really low to like really high,
Love the question.
right? So how you know, the faucets, you don't want to hit the ceiling. So what do you do for that, Steve?
Love the question. I'll show you right here.
PVD finishes last a lifetime. The NeoPearl pressure regulator creates the perfect water fountain, never overshooting the bathroom sink.
So what we have is a strainer here, and then this is a pressure regulator. So if your flow is between 20 and 80 PSI, which is normal household water pressure, it won't do anything but the exact same mark every time. Yeah.
Nice pressure regulator.
Yeah. NeoPearl. I work with a manufacturer.
Company is standard design.
Yeah, they make better quality strainers for the downspout, and they also make all of that. We are the first for NeoPearl to use 3 different components, and so they're really happy with working with us, which I love it. You know, it's great partnerships we're building. Other questions?
More questions?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Your funding, I noticed you did mention something about some angels. Did you have conversations with them about any kind of funding?
Ha, great question. I did, and the reason I did, at the time I did, I wasn't ready to get funding, right? It was $100 to apply, and I didn't know what they were going to ask me. I didn't know what I needed to know, right? I knew what I had done, but I didn't know what I needed to know. So I applied just to hear what questions I would get asked, and I had a first meeting with Monique, and we had about an hour get together, and she said, let's do a follow-up. So I went back for a 2-hour effort. And that's when she asked me things like, what are your EBITDA multiples at buyout? I'm like, man, EBITDA who? Yeah, I had no idea what she was talking about. So another cool benefit of participating in these competitions, one of the ones in Hampton, Get Started Hampton, whatever it was called, is called, Jeff Johnson, he runs Tech Center. Do you guys know Jeff? Tech Center, you know what Whole Foods and that whole thing they're building across from Costco diagonally, it has the pizza place and P.F. Chang's and there's Research Park. Jeff is running that whole effort. It's an investment by W.M. Jordan and Virginia Tech. Jeff volunteered to be mentors at one of the startup events, and that's where I met Jeff. So I go back to Jeff and I say, Jeff, man, I don't know about all this EBITDA stuff, and he goes, you need a financial pro forma. He has his wife's company, is it Veritas, yeah. And so I hired them to help me figure out the financials, put together the pro forma statement, and all the details of it. And he did a great job. Now, I didn't go back to 757 Angels at the time because some of the other things I had heard were from Monique. They would invest like maybe, if you needed, let's say 200,000, they would invest like 50, and then you got to go around to other investor companies, angel groups, to get the rest, which help further validate what you're doing. And I thought, man, that's a lot of work. I want to find an investor company that's going to partner in and be with me and pay, go all in, right? And maybe bring resources to the table. So that's the reason I didn't go back. I just wasn't interested in that approach. The investor group that I've got now, you heard me mention Jillian, she works for their team. Now, one of the things I'll do, they're going to be charging me $5,000 once we're into sales, and we've got income coming in. It's $5,000 a month for the resources they bring to the table, which is great. They bring a lot of resources, a lot of help. And that's the way they fund paying for that help, But they funded the whole seed round, which is over $500,000. And they're all in and helping. So that's really, really cool to me. It was a great question, by the way.
What is the faucet like? What are your margins? What does it cost you?
So right now we're still working through all the details of that. The global shipping, we're trying to figure out the exact cost. I've got to give them the carton count, the weights, the box sizes. And one of the things I'm trying to do right now is finish one more addition, which I'll mention came up in one of these meetings as well. Somebody said, I don't like my tap water. Can you add a filter to it? And I said, yeah, you're right. Let's look at that. So when I looked into it, I said, you can't put a filter inside the faucet. It'd be too small. You'd have to change it out every week, right? So what we did is we came up with an under-counter solution that just goes in your cold water line. And everybody got your refrigerator filters where you just screw them in? Same thing, right? We have a mount that goes in. You put the mount in with the braided stainless hoses, and then there's a twist lock filter underneath. So we're starting a VIP filter program. You join the program, the first filter's like $99, and then we'll send you a new one every year for like $59 or $69. We're still working through the details of that. But I've got to finish the boxes on that to figure out how many and minimum order quantities. My MOQ on the faucets, we got it down to 350 by finish by type. So I'm ordering 1,050 center sets and 1,050 widespread. So 2,100 faucets, I just need to get the filter count to get the whole shipping price, because you got to pay anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 for a 40-foot shipping container to bring it here. And then you need to add your, this is a term I learned from, again, these investor partner, tariff engineering. You pay a tariff, but there's approaches you can take to work through the tariff and get it as minimum as you can, right? So they've got experts in this, what's called tariff engineering. That's another fee we got to add in. So in developing our Kickstarter stuff, I've got a spreadsheet we're putting together, and it shows all my fixed costs, my variable costs, my break-even number, you know, how many faucets in Kickstarter we have to sell just to break even. The nice thing is with investment, you know, here's another point you guys need to remember. I don't need to, at the time last year, I did need to raise like $200,000 to pay for my initial faucet orders, right, from the factory. I've got investment now, I don't need that. So why would I do Kickstarter? You both said something right. Proof of concept and sell product. So proof of concept, people buy on Kickstarter, understand that you're a startup, and you know, maybe there's something on this we haven't caught, right? We've done piloting of the faucet, and we think it's ready to go. Maybe there's something we don't know about. So Kickstarter might be a way to, okay, we get number of sales, we get feedback, right? Maybe make a change along the way. But the other thing, how many of you ever read the book called Crossing the Chasm? Jeffrey Moore. Crossing the chasm, think of a bell curve, right? And as you come up that bell curve, think of a gap, the chasm. To the left are the innovators and early adopters. That's the people we want to get to first. Why? Because we want to get a crowd of raving fans talking about our product on crowdfunding, on Facebook, social media. We got all those people. If we can get, I'd rather have 100 raving fans talking about it than 1,000 ho-hum people, right? Kickstarter tends to have those kind of people. So what happens is, as you get that, when you get across the chasm, you're into what's called the early majority. In order to reach those, you need a bunch of raving fans talking about your product. That's one of the big reasons we're doing this. And then as you go across the other side, you get to your laggards and so forth. But they need to be convinced through the early majority buying it. It's a great book. Another book, you guys know Seth Godin, right? He says, you know the Purple Cow? Anybody heard the book, Purple Cow? What he says is, you shook your head no. What he says is, you need to have a Purple Cow product. Well, what's that? He said, if you're driving down the road and you see a bunch of cattle, not any one of them really stand out, right? But if one of them was purple, would you remember it? You wouldn't forget it, would you? So guess what? If you go into Home Depot or Lowe's and all the faucets are the same, but one of them's got a water fountain on it, guess what? Is it a Purple Cow? Yep. Dang on straight it is. So I think we have a Purple Cow product, and I'm super excited about that fact. Yes, ma'am.
When you're talking about the filter, do you intend to put the filter on all of them, or is that just going to be an option?
It's an optional buy, because not everybody cares. Some people have good water, they don't really care. But I will tell you, with things like, where was it in Minnesota? That the bad, Virginia Tech was involved, they found that water. Flint, Michigan, that was it, Flint, yeah. So there's water situations like that around the country that you may not even know. You know, and I've heard people tell me that the water in Portsmouth in some cases doesn't smell good, right? Sulfur problems or something. So our filter will take care of all of that. So we're pretty excited about offering that as an option.
And do you anticipate developing one for kitchens?
Possibly. You know, the difference there, I think we're going to get our MVP out first, right? But the next iteration I'm going to do is going to be a hands-free operation. So again, the less you touch it, right, the more germ-free you are, right? So just wave your hand. Now, what becomes a problem there is right now the hands-free faucets have a sensor under here. Wave your hand under it, it comes on, you wash your hand, and then shut it off. Well, how do we make the fountain effect work with a sensor? Where do you put it? Do you put it right here? Well, if I reach and turn the handle, I'm going to make it come on and off all the time, right? So that doesn't work either. So I think what we've come up with is we're going to put it in the back, the sensor for it. So you wave your hand in the back, come around the side, and it'll activate it.
Doesn't work off the mirror, does it?
You go,
I'm shaking my head no at you because I see all sorts of problems with that.
how so?
Mirrors, you've got, I have a counter that there's not enough, you're not going to have enough room to put your hand that far down.
Maybe I don't have to go far down. Maybe it just goes at the apex, you know, like back here. We got to come up with a solution. That's one of the challenges I face.
That's just going to be a challenge, and cats.
Mm-hmm. Well, people have told me, can you do one for my dog or my cat? Because they would love to be able to activate it.
Well, no, yeah, I see that. I just imagine that problem is all hands hands-free.
But right now I've got another utility patent in the works. Anybody ever heard of a CIP? A CIP, continuation in progress, whatever, with your patent. What I'm going to do before it issues is we're going to file a continuation, and the reason is I want to add a new claim for the hands-free feature, hands-free functionality. And what that does, as long as that keeps my patent out there and not even issued yet, that's a good thing. Why? Because they can't see the details of it yet, my competitors. You need what we call an IP barrier. So what I've done is I've got multiple design patents for the current designs. I've got I got an approved utility patent for our original design that had the non-COTS components. I've got a second utility patent in the works now for the COTS version. So I've got multiple patents. I've got the Chinese patent, and we're creating that whole patent portfolio that makes it harder for our competitors to attack us.
Are you sure you didn't come from the pharmaceutical industry?
Well, the problem is right now, people will still come out with a product that's a competitor and not care about your patents, especially the big ones who have big attorneys. So that's a challenge. And I was invited to speak with Bobby Scott's team about the patent problems like that. Unfortunately, they had a conflict and had to get canceled, so we're going to be rescheduled.
So if on the patent basis, that is a terrific design for anybody who's anyone close to Colonial.
Okay.
Right? The folks on the West Coast tend to have, you see on TV shows and all that, they have more rectilinear designs for everything, right? If you decided to design one that was sort of mid-century modern, whatever, is that another patent or is that just?
That would be a design patent, not a utility patent.
Yeah.
Because to understand the difference, if you guys don't know, the design is just the outside functional appearance, or not functional, but the outside appearance. The utility patent is all about the functions it performs, right? The unique functions. And we do have another design in the works. The only difference is, I need to get a VIP out there and get it selling, right? And the other thing is, why didn't I license this? Any ideas?
Why did you?
Why didn't I? We could go different routes, right? I could have produced it myself and go to market and try to come up with all the capability to do that, which means infrastructure, shipping, receive, everything. The other path would be just to go meet with somebody and say, hey, we'll sell you our patent. The problem with the licensing for me was you get a very small royalty, and they're not necessarily incentivized to sell your product. So you sign a deal, and if they don't sell it, you make nothing. So my approach has been to, let's go to market, let's actually take over market share. There are 108 faucet suppliers in the US. It starts with Delta, Moen, and Kohler, the big three, but then there's Price Pfister, there's American Standard, there's Perrin and Rowe, there's California Faucets, there's just a ton of them. And guess what? They can only compete on the look and feel of the faucet, design, right? And that's it. There's no new function they bring to the table. So my idea was, if we start taking market share away from some of them, somebody's going to say, maybe I'm at number 18, I want to move up to number 10. How can I do that? Well, I can buy somebody out or I can merge with them, right? So different ways to go to market, but that's our approach. Yes, ma'am.
Last question, what can 1 million cups do for you?
You can sign up to get a discount on the faucet. We have our Kickstarter launch, Nasoni.com. And by the way, I bought the domain. I had Nasoni.co to start with for many years, or a couple of years. And the Nasoni.com wasn't available. Somebody was using it as there are actually people named Nasoni in Italy, right? And so they were using that, and then somebody else had gotten a hold of it. I guess they let it lapse. And I ended up having to buy it. I paid about $1,800 to buy it. But having a .com is so important these days. You may hear that you're okay with .co or US or whatever, but people always make a mistake. And making your email address simple. Like my wife's company is Reed Integration. We always run into people when they try to write it down as integration with an R before the G. That doesn't work, it bounces. So have a simple name that people can remember how to spell. That's important too. And this is a 6-letter domain, Nasoni.com, Nasoni.com. So it's real easy.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, guys. My email address is easy. It's steve@nasoni.com. If you have a question later, you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to answer it.